So I pulled up Greg's research study, his flyer from last semester, just to give you guys a brief overview of what Greg is taking a look at. Greg is working in a GED curriculum setting, and so what he wants to do is basically just develop a way to help students transfer their um, skills between what they're learning in GED class and connecting that with actual on the job training or understanding. So he's trying to increase or improve the connection between what students are learning in class with what they're facing in their jobs or will face in their jobs. So you can take a look here real quick and you can see where these transfer skills come into play for Greg and for his problem of practice. Um, Increasing the connection between job and real life situations is, as Greg says here and as his quote uses, not a new situation. So we're going to try and make a connection between Greg and what Barber has to say say in his paper. As you recall, Barber basically advocates for these three government-based change solutions. Now, these are based off of how much, how many problems or how awful the system is that needs to be changed. So, if in this case, if Greg's context is awful according to their standards, then we need more government intervention and then moving down through this. Okay, well, this being the less government intervention. What Greg is proposing is a partnership between his program and industry leaders. So you can see here where Greg has to say, he wants to work with people in the field to develop skills, vocational skills for his students so that they can start to see the connection between the GED and what they may need to do in their real lives. Barber basically makes a connection between these things, saying a similar connection, saying that not everything has to be one or the other. Not all change comes from one or the other of these. That there can be some combination of at least two of these things, mainly quasi markets and the devolution and transparency model. That you can go down here and you can see where some combination of privatization combined with public sectors can be an effective way to create change. And that's the main connection that I can make between Greg and the change model proposed by Barber, which is that this combination of public and private partnerships can be effective and can help to determine what is successful. So this is a way that we can create an alternative framework for students and for schools to experience success. He does give some background on this, but he does seem to resort a lot to the command and control method. Okay, but in Greg's case, the standards, the graduation rate, those things are important because businesses won't look at a student without at least a GED, right? So it becomes important that that a program like Greg's is successful and that it is able to retain students because it increases skills, it increases students' access to jobs that allow them to live a meaningful life devoid of necessarily of government intervention. So, kudos to Greg for looking at that. I think that he could take a look at Barber's work here and he could start to say, well, if standards, if goals and measurable goals are the outcome, maybe he could take a look at that and say, how could we as a local school or as a local management team or as a leadership team, how can we establish measurable outcomes that do allow and do bring in both the industry leaders through privatization models along with public uh, influence. So take a look at that, Greg. See what you think about this change model in terms of trying to combine some of these things. Good luck, and I'm trying to not be negative about Barber and his approach, but I think Greg could do a good job without requiring the government to come in and tell him what is success for his program and for his school and for his students and for his clientele. So, yeah, good luck, Greg.